This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out. Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for all of your support of GunGuyTV. I've got great news today in the state of California in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and I'm not even going to try to explain it to you. That's why I have Rick Travis with me. Rick, would you please tell us what's the news today?
Well, Joel, it's a very great day for all of California, but in fact, all of America, because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals proving that President Donald Trump has brought parity and evened up the liberal to conservative balance on the court, handed us a 2-1, 81-page ruling on the Duncan v. Becerra case. That was the case that brought us back in late March, early April of 2017, what was known as Freedom Week, where many of our Californians were able to purchase standard capacity magazines throughout the state during that week. And then the judge put a ruling, a stay on his own ruling that stopped those purchases. And a lot of people thought Judge Benitez left us in a lurch, but as you're going to find out in a couple of minutes, it was one of the most brilliant jurisprudent moves ever. So what has happened is the Ninth Circuit today said that the idea that we needed to be able to have a stringent set of guidelines, as we saw in both Heller and McDonald, sent forth by Justice Antonin Scalia, that those have to be upheld. And strict scrutiny is the number one thing that has to happen, which means they have to stay to the Constitution. They can't go and legislate from the bench. So this was a severe slap to the governor of California, to the legislature, because you got to remember the governor, as the lieutenant governor at the time, back in 2016, pushed Prop 63, which gave us this ban, along with the laws that came out of Gunmageddon, which were done by Kevin De Leon and former Governor Jerry Brown. So all three of them have been effectively backhanded, along with the Attorney General Becerra, very firmly by the Ninth Circuit. Now, of course, the question that we have gotten since 7 o'clock this morning and are continuing to get around the clock is, does this mean now I can go buy any magazine I want and just rest easy? No, it does not, because let's go back to what Judge Benitez did. Judge Benitez put a stay on that ability to purchase those magazines. And people are like, why would he do such a thing? It was for this time exactly. He had the foresight to realize that if we were to win in the Ninth Circuit, which we did, that this is what it would set up. It sets up at a time during a political campaign year, a very divisive campaign year. The governor has two choices. One, he can let it stand here at the Ninth Circuit and it becomes law of the land for California and for all the states and most of the Pacific Islands that are under U.S. rule. It becomes the law of the land for all of those. Now, why would he do that? Because his only choice, and he has until the 28th of the month, is to go ahead and move forward and say, okay, I want an en banc review of this, which would stay in the Ninth Circuit, but would require 11 judges. Those 11 judges would then review the ruling of the 3-judge panel that we got this morning and decide thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, had this happened back in 2016, we'd be very worried, because back then it was about an 80-20 split, 80% liberal, 20% conservative judges in the court. But as I said a few minutes ago, we now have pretty much parity across. So it's a coin toss if it would be a 5-4 on either side or even more to our side. So as a result, he has to be very careful, because if that en banc ruling came back in our favor, which is a good chance it would, then that ruling would say this is the law of the land. And then there would only be one last thing he could do, and that's push it to the Supreme Court, which would be told by the likes of Bloomberg and Soros and others, please don't do that, because that could potentially make it law of the land. And that's not what the anti-gun grabbing movement wants. So with Newsom wanting to go and run for president in 2024, which he's intimated earlier this year, and do things like this is a political quagmire for him at a very dangerous time politically in his career. But moreover, for our side, what does this mean? And here's what it means. If the governor chooses to stay politically safe and makes no move by the 28th, then that ruling kicks back down to Judge Benitez, who will then lift the stay, and yes, everybody can go buy the magazines. Now, the issue with that is going to be, we're going to be frustrated because, let's be honest, magazines right now are not really available nationwide because of COVID-19 and all the pushes. People have bought up pretty much the nation stores, and there's a supply chain issue, getting a lot of magazines in a lot of areas. So you'll get on waiting lists, but we're not promising, because that's not what this case is about. This case is about the right to be able to go purchase those standard capacity magazines. The things I want the viewers to make sure they do is correct anybody that uses the false narrative term high capacity. There's no such thing. Here's what I equate it to. I equate it to the same thing you have when you buy a car. As we all know, when you buy a car in California, they give you a thing either under your truck or in the back, usually the trunk of your car, a thing that we call a donut tire. It's a tire that you hope you never, ever have to deploy, because it might take you 10 miles down the road without blowing. In many other states, you don't get a donut tire. You actually get this, a tire that looks exactly like the other four on the vehicle. And that is what the same idea is. Realize many of your pistols and rifles, when you buy them in other states, they have magazines that are standard. That's what they were designed for, to hold 12, 15, 17, 19 or more rounds. In California, the legislature and the governor gave you a donut magazine, is what I call it. It's just 10 rounds. And this is what both Judge Benitez and the Ninth Circuit said today. You can't do that. That's not what the Second Amendment's about, and you don't have the right to do that. That's why this is such a huge ruling, because this sets us up for many other things. We're looking for a ruling to come down on the ammunition fiasco, on our roadie case that's imminent, could happen anytime. And so this is a really good time for gun owners. You should all be celebrating tonight. Even if you can't go buy your magazine, we're looking at possibly only 2 weeks away before you can. But more importantly, this is a huge win, and it's a huge slap in the face to the gun grabbing movement.
You know, Rick, I read and I'll let you go here in a minute because I know you're running from show to show to show, and I don't want to hold you very long. But I did, while we were waiting, I sat and read the majority of the decision. They really did a great historical analysis in this thing. So it'll be very interesting to see, after Chuck and his team and you guys and others have had a chance to review it, exactly what we're going to get out of it. I assume that you guys are reviewing it and that we're going to have more to talk about at some later date.
Yeah, we're reviewing it and being really upfront. We're prepared for the en banc case if that's what happens, and we're prepared to take this all the way to the Supreme Court, because a lot of people have been depressed because the Supreme Court turned down a lot of different cases. What they're looking for is a case that resets the standard of review, which this case, as the three-judge panel clearly showed, does. And that is the idea that Scalia put forward of strict scrutiny. And he also talked about intermediate scrutiny. And while those are broad-based legal terms, and I'm not a lawyer, let me just tell you, that is what we want, because it eliminates the vast majority of legislating from the bench. And that is not the role of this section of government. This section of government, called the judicial, is clearly not to be political. Their job is to uphold the law. And we have seen far too much policy changes done by judges that is just not allowed under our Constitution. So this is a return to constitutional ethics and the constitutional purity, and we support the three judges in this panel, especially the two that ruled in our favor.
Rick, does the fact that they touched upon, and actually they went very clear upon, the standard of review on this, does that calculate in the political decision as to whether to oppose this and try to get it to an en banc review or not?
Yes, it does, because that strict scrutiny would eliminate the vast majority of laws over time. I mean, we'll have to obviously take those cases to court, but it would honestly give us the upper hand in the vast majority of cases, not just here in California, but across the nation.
So that's one more item that sort of stacks in the opposition column for Gavin Newsom et al. When it comes to, should we try to pursue this beyond this point or just let it ride? And you said that we've got how many days now? When does this actually kick in to where it goes back to Judge Benitez?
It will go back at the close of business on the 28th.
So if they don't make a decision so do they have to actually appeal this or ask for an en banc panel by that time? And if they don't, they can't? Is that how it works?
That's how it works.
How wonderful. So I'm going to be praying for that day to come and pass without an en banc review.
Yeah. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, don't get depressed. I don't want to hear people run around going, oh, well, this really isn't a victory. Yes, it is, because if he is dumb enough, I look at this like a bear trap. If he is dumb enough to go and push for the en banc, that gives us the clear road to the Supreme Court to make this law of the land.
Well, and this is, of course, this is a case they would probably take because it's narrow, which they tend to like. It's taken a small bite, and it deals with the scrutiny issue, which they want to deal with. So this is one they might actually take, and which our Chief Justice might not throw us under the bus.
And here's the other thing that you have to realize: a lot of people will probably initially, and I understand it because I've dealt with it this morning. We're talking with people are going to say, yeah, but the New York case, and they ruled it moot. I want to show a clear definition. Because of the way Benitez helped us set this up, the governor and the attorney general have no way to dismantle the law. They can't dismantle it before it went to the Supreme Court. However, in New York, they were able to dismantle the law that led to that case and therefore made that case moot because they had already resolved the issue. The only resolution can happen now is from a court hearing. So he has a choice to let this one stand today for all the states in the Ninth Circuit, or to risk the entire country. And if you've got your hopes on carrying a anti-gun agenda to get you into the office of the presidency, that would be a very foolish move.
So Judge Benitez really was quite strategic in the way that he decided that and the moves that he took, more so than I think most people, including me, actually realized.
Incredibly. And it's one of the reasons that our lead attorney and president of the CRPA, Chuck Michel, says this all the time in speaking. You've heard me say this. Is yes, we know that some of these judges take a long time and we get antsy. We live in an Amazon society of why can't I push the button and get what I want, 2 hours from now? But it is because of that close jurisprudence and patience that these men and women on the court rule in our favor with. They set up these incredible documents that protect us, and we want those documents in place. And Judge Benitez, I literally do call him Saint Benitez all the time.
Well, he did a magical job. Actually, looking at what I will do is I'll post for you, if you're watching this, I'll post a link to the actual decision so that you can go read it if you want to. But they actually did quite a good analysis. I haven't gone all the way through it, but it's amazing as well. So those are going to be tough to beat, I think. Rick, is there anything else that we need to know? I know I need to let you go so that you can go to the next show.
Now, the biggest thing I would tell the people here on GunGuy TV, because I love your audience, is do take the time to read these cases, because a lot of times when you, Joel, are talking to people, I'm talking to people, a common question we get is, well, what do we say to our friends, or how do we talk to them about this stuff? I don't read these cases. These cases are like primers for you to be able to defend your Second Amendment, to do it in a logical, non-confrontive way, and to clearly illustrate. Benitez and this 3-judge panel give clear examples of why this is so important and why we have the right to be able to have these. And I think if you use those examples, it makes it, no pun intended, but pretty much a bulletproof argument that even people on the far left can't argue with, because these are judicial arguments.
Rick, thank you very much for your time today. I know you're super busy, and so I'll let you get on to the next show. You're probably going to be doing this all day. Have a wonderful day, and thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And remember, be safe, shoot straight, and keep fighting back for your rights.
And there you go. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you don't mind reading the decision on your own. And if you have any questions, go ahead and send them to me, and I'll try to get answers to you. And then as soon as the CRPA has had a chance to really review this case, I'm sure that Rick will want to come back on again and talk about some more details, and we'll get that done for you. In the meantime, wherever you go, whatever you do, stay safe.